Welcome everyone. It's 12:30 Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, May 25th, 2022. This is the NBA Triple Double Show powered by SportsMemo TV. We welcome you to the show, and now I'm getting the echo again.
I don't hear anything.
Okay, that's enough of that. All right, so this is the NBA Triple Double Show with an echo. And now we're going to do without the echo. But anyway, welcome aboard. We're glad that you took the time to see our show and taking the information. And I'm pretty excited, Ronald, about some of the analytics that I've uncovered and some of the stuff that you have too for this game. Because game 5 is such a pivotal game of any series, really in any sport hockey, baseball, basketball. It really does determine it. And now we have a series with Boston and Miami that's even at 2 games apiece, and we're reduced to a best of three with the home court advantage certainly in favor of Miami having two of those 3 games at home.
Mhm.
But I've been thinking, my takeaway from game 4 was that Boston really showed that perhaps they have a little bit more firepower, especially coming in off the bench than the Heat do. And as a result, we now see a home dog of a number 1 seed in the playoffs, which has not happened very often at all. We have Jimmy Butler coming off back-to-back games for the first time of his career in the playoffs, scoring less than 10 points, 14 points combined in those 2 games. There's a lot of storylines here, one of which I'll conclude with this, and I'll turn it over to you, Ronald. Jason Tatum in game 3 shot 3 for 14. And guess what? Butler decided to do the same thing in game 4 and shot 3 for 14. So it's a question of like, how are these teams going to bounce back? And how does, Miami offset the new momentum that Boston seems to have? And,
Mhm.
if Boston wins this game tonight, you got to think that it probably ends in Boston. But first things first, let's hear what you have to say and any possible best bets, leans, what have you for this matchup.
Yeah, I think there's still a lot to take in here with especially with key players like Marcus Smart and Robert Williams, currently true game time decisions. On the other side, you have Kyle Lowry, PJ Tucker, Gabe Vincent, Struess, and Harrell. Harrell sat out last game, and to me, from what I heard this morning, the injury is a lot more severe than what they're making it out to be. So there's a possibility we don't see him again. And throughout the playoffs, Kyle Lowry has kind of been through struggling with injuries, and it seems like his hamstring injury is something that's a little bit more serious than what people are mentioning too. One thing to note, other than the injury aspect, though, is just the fact that both of these teams shot so poorly in the last game. So what I did was actually check to see how both teams bounce back after shooting 40% or less from the field. Boston does exceptionally well, 10-3 straight up, 11-2 against the spread, but 9-3 to the under. That's which is surprising. But when I looked deeper into that, it was due to the totals being so low. Most of those totals were, under 210. This is actually the lowest total out of all of those games in those outcomes. Boston's averaging 107 per game and allowing 98 per game in those situations. So that right there is already combined averaging close to where the closing total is at the current moment. On the Miami side, 8-3 straight up, 7-4 against the spread, and 7-4 to the over after shooting 40% or less from the field, averaging 112 per game and allowing 105 per game. So there's a bit of a bigger gap there with the total. That's kind of like where I'm looking towards in this game specifically right now. Without knowing who is actually playing, my biggest lean is towards the over. I know we're kind of discussing this right before the game. You have a lot of trends that look towards the under, so it's going to be interesting to see how this game shapes up. I think these two teams are just way too good to not bounce back offensively, and with the total being so low, it could be a situation where they still stay under a combined 210, but over the 204 which is the total it's currently at.
Yeah, it's good stuff, Ron. I like your take on the game. And what I found intriguing with this matchup is on paper, these teams are so evenly matched, in my opinion. I think you agree. But the results have been not even at all. 3 of these 4 games have been decided by double digits. And I did just a little searching here, and I think hopefully the chat room will have some comments to add to these trends. So number one seeds in the NBA playoffs as dogs, which you wouldn't think would happen very often, have gone 53-96 straight up. And this is actually the NBA playoffs going back 20 seasons. 66-82 and 3 against the spread, so not so good, not enough to make me want to bet against them. But the under 80 and 60 for last 20 years.
Mhm.
So about 58% there on the under. And then over the last 10 seasons, you get similar results that you can see on the graph there. And only 8 times in the last 10 playoff seasons has a number one seed been a home dog. That is, I just think it's very rare. Obviously, they're only 2-6. The dog is straight up
Mhm.
against the spread, and 3-5 over under. So again, a little lean to the under, but a home dog that's a number one seed, last 10 playoff seasons, 2-6 straight up and against the spread. Now I dug in and, okay, what if the opponent is the number two seed? Regardless if you're the one seed, you could be the 4 seed, what have you. But
Mhm.
the number two seed here, which is the number one rated seed for the NBA Finals, what I mean by that is the last 20 years, there's 40 slots to make the finals, 2 for each year. 18 of those slots over the last 20 years have been filled with the number two seed, either from the East or the West. And there's been one such finals where the finals was the number two seed from the West and the number two seed from the East. And the number one seed, I believe, is 11 times into the finals. So it was intriguing to me that the number two seed actually does better over the last 20 years than the number one seed.
Mhm.
So the number two seeds is road favorites. 45-19 straight up, 39-22 against the spread for 64%. And that's all rounds of the playoffs over the last 10 years. Over or under, again, 26-35, leaning the under. And then as you can see here, too, the number two seeds is road favorites, and the series is tied. I like this one. 8-2 straight up, 7-3 against the spread. Number two seeds away, and the series tied. And the line, a skinny line, 2.5 point underdog to a 2.5 point favorite, 14-12 straight up, 16-10. But again, Ronald, under 15-8.
Mhm.
Everything comes up under on these queries. So I don't know if I'm getting too confident with an under bet. I did lose a premium bet last night betting the
Mhm.
under in that
One
game, but
Yeah, one thing I want to add. So while you were kind of talking that through, I wanted to also look at, because obviously, so in modern basketball, right, we see a lot of points, we see a lot of scoring. We don't typically see two top tier defensive teams play head to head too often, especially in the playoffs in modern basketball. So what I wanted to look at was totals at 205 or less in the playoffs past round one. I think it was past round one. Let me just double check here. Um, yeah, pass round. Actually, pass round two. So in the conference finals or in the finals. So what I wanted to look at is these teams that match up really well. Two high defensive efficiency teams with a low scoring total, 205 or less. They're 8-15. Sorry, 15-8 to the under, dating back to the 2014 playoffs. But the last instance prior to this year was in 2017. So we skipped a whole 2018, 19, and 20 with totals not going under 205. The last instance this year was the Celtics within this series, the Celtics Heat, and that went over by double digits. It's just something that's rare to see in modern basketball, to see this low of a total, especially here in the playoffs. And so to me, this is one long term trend that might actually go against what we see as far as a historic trend, right? Because we're seeing historically it's supposed to be an under situation, but if we only have one situation within the last 4 years, is that really something that we can continue using as a current trend? Does that make sense, John?
absolutely. Yep. Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. Um, Changing subjects here, we're going to the chat room just briefly. Just wanted to give a
Yeah.
shout out to SoCal Deegan here, who I believe is from the Discord channel we have for the, I think that's the SDQL, right, Ronald?
Yeah, yep. He's
Yeah.
actually SoCal DJ's actually the moderator or he owns that.
Yep,
I think
that's
he
right.
owns that
Yep,
Discord. Yeah, he does a really great job in there too.
incredible job. Yeah, and I always call him Gambrius, but I don't think that's how you actually pronounce it. But he's
Gambrinus is
always in the yeah. He's a mastermind in my humble opinion. And then we have
yeah,
Austin from Houston, Texas, our mutual friend.
yeah, yep.
Um, you know, let's see what we have here in terms of Ninja 13's back at it here.
Ninja
Well, you're
13. He said taking the under. I'm actually looking towards the over, Ninja. Some of the trends are pointing towards the under, but I think we were just kind of breaking down, what we're seeing in this point at this point. So we're not really saying what we're playing right now. This is kind of just a discussion of how we're capping the game at the current moment. Mitch, I can hit you up with the Discord link later, bud.
yeah, and this is an interesting by Mitch. An interesting thought here. Heat futures tough to see them winning without Hero, of course. No secondary scoring. Defense will need to show up, and then that makes me lean to the under again. Even though I'm not trying to go against you, Ronald, ever.
Yeah,
Um, but
it's all good.
Yeah, and SoCal looks like he took the Celtics at -1.5 last night already. That's I can't imagine it's going to go to pick 'em. Recency bias by the public is going to be on the Celtics. But I did run this one query. The total in this game is been lower than the previous total, lower than the previous total. So each game now, in the last 3 games in this series, the total has gone from 208, and then in game 4 it was 207.5 or 207, and now we're 203.5. A big market adjustment here. So I did that query for the playoffs and round 3, which is the conference finals or the NBA finals, round 3 or 4.
Mhm.
We get some pretty interesting results here. The home team is 54-27 straight up, 67%. Against the spread, they're only 44-36. That's 55%. Not bad, but nothing that we're going to sink our teeth into. But
Mhm.
again, Ronald, I can't get off this under 51-27 with 3 pushes. That turns out to be 60. That's actually 65.4%. And that I can't get off of. But I feel like I'm at the edge of the cliff here, and I'm trying to get you to talk me away from the edge of the cliff. In the modern age, we've seen scoring go up since 2017 rather dramatically.
Sure.
And we did say in the first show that this was going to be a playoff series for the conference finals. Last year, the average total was 218.
Mhm.
I think we had one game that was 218, which is what we said and what we expected. But now we're looking at 2-0s and low 2-0s.
Mhm.
So it's nowhere close to what last year and the previous 5 seasons were.
Yeah.
It's drastically lower. I think this is the lowest average total of a conference final since 2012. Just food for information. But I do want to segue into Jimmy Butler here for a second and pull up the notes I have on him because it always intrigues me. A superstar that you know I have a technical term that I can't say on the show, but I think you know what it would be, Ronald. But he hasn't done too well the last 2 games.
Yep.
So Jimmy Butler, coming off of 2 poor games where he did not score more than 10 points. Since joining the Heat in 2019, he has failed to score 10 or more points 15 times in the regular season and the playoffs. Following a game in which he played and scored fewer than 10 points, the Heat are 8-7 straight up, 6-9 against the spread. But guess what, Ronald? 10-5 under.
Mm.
Uh, you know, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here to the point that I'm gonna, bet the under, and then I'm gonna wish tomorrow that, hey, you dummy, why you knew it was gonna go over.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know that so you mean like some of the stuff that I brought up earlier, right? How teams bounce back, how these specific teams bounce back off of poor shooting nights, right? Under 40% or
yep.
40% or lower. The next game they typically so Boston shoots about 46% average after so they bounce back offensively, and Miami does even better at 47% is what I'm looking here, what I'm seeing here. With Butler, obviously you see that he has 2 poor performing games, but in that in that game on the 21st, he actually didn't play the second half because he was injured. Right, they pulled him out. Miami wasn't a, a big enough lead. They didn't want to risk it. The next game was a total blowout to begin with, so he didn't play the extended minutes as well. Obviously, he shot terribly, so that doesn't take away from the amount of minutes that he played, or if it was a blowout or not. 3 for 14, that's terrible. But I don't see him. I don't see him doing the same thing again. I think he bounces back here. I think as a team, they're going to make better decisions. And also, I mean, defensively, obviously, these two are the top two defensive teams in the league. If they create turnovers, defense turns into offense, right? We're going to see a lot more fast breaks, things like that. So, in my opinion, here, that's the reason why I'm looking towards the over. I'm kind of going against the historic long term trends, only because in modern basketball we don't see these low totals, right? And with these two types of teams coming off a poor shooting game, it's something that's like it's almost like why isn't this under 200, right? I
Right.
think this we've been talking about this all series
Yep.
long, and so it's kind of a tricky situation here where sometimes the total and the line is telling you a story, and to me, in my opinion, after scoring, what did they combine for? Obviously less than 200, but it was
Right.
184. They combined for 184, and following that game, the total is not under 200. Two top defensive teams, two slow pace teams here. This is kind of telling us, in my opinion, that it should go over. That's my way to look at it here.
Yeah, and I appreciate you talking me a little bit back from the side of the cliff here. Because it is one of those games like in baseball. The analogy would be you get these games where the total's 5.5 runs, two elite pitchers, and all the analytics say under, and then all of a sudden the final score is 10-9, and you feel like a complete idiot having done that. I mean, there's no other way to describe it, and I feel the same way about this game. This total is so low. But on the one hand, I can see another 185, 184 performance by these teams, and they
Mhm.
end up playing in the mud in a
Yeah.
slugfest.
That's
But
why the
to your
that's why the
point,
NBA playoffs is so tough because we only have one game, and in every game, especially this late in the season, you can pull an angle supporting either side, either over or under. Really, that's the hardest part about being in the playoffs, and it's at that point where you can't pick and choose your spots if you're trying to play every game. You know what I mean? Like if you can't make a solid decision that you really believe in, like maybe it's just one that you just sit out. So that's the tough part about the playoffs. Sorry for cutting you off, but I just wanted to add
no,
that while
it's
you
all
were on
right.
that subject. Yeah.
Like I say on all the shows, I should be cut off once in a while. But you're an extremely smart guy. I'm not trying to test your smarts here with this
No,
trivia
no, no,
question,
no
but
problem.
Butler has never missed the playoffs. Even in his rookie year, he only played 4 minutes in 3 games, so he got garbage time. But since then, every single year, what was it, 5 with the Bulls, 3 now with the Heat, and then 1 each with Minnesota and the Philadelphia 76ers.
Hmm.
So in his career, how many times do you think he's gone back to back games, not scoring double digits in each
Hmm.
one? How many
Probably
times?
probably super rare, but again, he didn't play that second half. He had 8 points and didn't play the second half. So if he did play, he probably would have hit the double digit mark, at least on the 21st, on the game previous to game three. In game four, that was just a blowout, and they took him out. Obviously, he went 3 for 14. You don't know. We at that point we don't know if he would have hit double digits, but in my opinion, at least in game three, he probably would have, um, if he continued to play. So I mean, I don't think he played too terribly in the minutes that he did play. It's just unfortunate that he didn't get the extra minutes.
Well, I'm here to tell you that over his career, regular season and playoffs, and this is the first time in his playoff career he's gone back to back games without scoring double digits. It's happened 3 other times in the regular season in his career.
Hmm.
You might want to know in the following game, these are games where he did play. Like you obviously have to take in consideration games where he scored 0 points but he didn't play.
Yeah.
These are actually games that he played and didn't score more than 10. So they in his teams where this has occurred, those teams are 3-0 straight up and against the spread. And that does support Butler on a prop bet and the Heat coming back and winning this game. Um, I was very impressed with how Boston played, and I think one of the keys was they stopped the damn complaining to the refs.
Yeah.
And and apparently the head coach went to his team and said, "Look, knock it off. You were taught, when you were 10 years old, you don't argue with the ref. The ref's always right, no matter what you think, that kind of stuff." And it really paid off. The only time I saw a complaint was Tatum, and that was on his first missed shot of the game. And then from then on, and you know what, the game had a better flow to it, you know, as opposed to all the guys waving their hands and then each situation after that is a 4-on-5 or a 5-on-4 because the guy's arguing with the ref and not playing defense.
Mhm.
So I think that was a big turning point for the Celtics to stop doing that. Hopefully they do tonight. I don't know if Scott Foster's in this game tonight. Do you know offhand?
No, he's not. He's not riffing. Scott Foster is not riffing to today's game. It's Mark Davis, Josh Tiven, and Mark Lindsay.
Okay.
Yeah.
SoCal's got something for us to see here. Interesting, because if you go back further, as I did, it does better. But that's the beauty of slicing data. You come up with different things, and then you have to determine what value it's really bringing. But I'm going to stay off the under, Ronald, even for my premium clients, because I can't justify losing at 203.5. However, and I'll be very short with this. Everybody who's ever watched this show knows I love the in-game betting.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do like the under, there is absolutely no reason to bet it pre-flop. The volatility in the scoring of this game will be dramatic, just like it was in every single other game they've played. And, the way I would play this, Ronald, is we're at 203.5. I would look to get 208.5 for 50% in game in that first half only. But you're betting the full game. I'm just saying you only execute it if it's in the first half when it occurs. And then I would put on 25% at 211.5 and then 214.5. And you may not get those other two pieces, but I think it's very likely you'll be able to get half your bet size on at 208.5. And then that just feels a lot better to me than 203.5.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like I said, we could see a total going on. We got to delete that, John, if you can, or kick that guy out.
Yeah, I got to figure out what to do there. Let's see here.
So now I don't even know what I'm saying.
He's blocked.
Okay, yeah, good stuff.
Wow. Yeah, I blocked him.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, though, when the we can definitely see a total staying under 210, but going over the 204 closing, 204 total that it is right now. It's just a tight. It's going to be a lot tighter to me, in my opinion. I know the zigzag games here have been blowouts both ways, but like you said, this is a three game series now, and I think we're going to be it's going to be a little bit tighter the rest of the way here. I think this series probably goes 7 games, and we're going to see tighter games to close this out. To me, I think the total is just a little bit too low. I haven't placed a bet towards the over, but that's the way that I'm looking as far as the side perspective. I do want to hear. I do want to know whether or not Smart and Williams are playing, and also is Harrell playing, because offensively he made offensively they're missing that part in the second unit with him. Even though Oladipo showed up, they both bring two different aspects of the game. I think Oladipo is a strong defensive player. He showed that he could score too in the last game. So there's just a whole bunch of things that is unknown at the current moment to pick a side. But as far as the total and the game flow that I see this happening, I still lean towards the over here.
Yeah, I'm with you. My prop bets. I'll tell you what these are. These are official, pizza money sized bets. So with the prop bets, as soon as I can find them, I was actually betting under Struss 11 and a half. No offense to Ninja 13, and the other ones were, I don't know why I can't find it. Just give me 1 second here. Apologize for the delay.
I think one thing that I want to keep going towards is the under on Lowry. If he even plays today, I think his under on the
Yep,
points props is something that I would always look at. He's not much of a scorer. Even if this game does go over, it's not going to be through Lowry, in my opinion. So that's probably something that I would look towards, in my opinion.
yep. That's my second one. Kyle Lowry under 15 and a half points and assists, minus 115, offered
Mhm.
at BetMGM. Struss under 11 and a half, minus 115. And then I did do Jimmy Butler over a half. No, it's 3 pointers made. He has to make one. I'm laying 220, which I hate, but I got to think no matter what the end of the score is, he's going to make
Mhm.
one. I mean, that's only 2 to 1 odds, though. I mean, it just doesn't. Maybe it's not a good bet because it seems too easy.
Yeah.
Um,
The other thing too is if Marcus Smart plays today. To me, when I was watching him on the bench and how he was moving, it almost seems like he probably could have played that game. In my opinion, I mean, he would probably be a little hobbled or whatever, but I think having that rest, that extra rest, is going to help him. I do think he's going to end up playing today. And if he does, his line right now is at 12 and a half, and he's gone over in five of his last 6 games. So to me, I think that's probably something that I would look towards as well. The Marcus Smart points over, um, you know, for his points at least. I haven't seen what his PRA number is. That's probably something to look at as well. But he's been a very important part to this. 22 and a half, is that right? Am I seeing that right? 22 and a half PRA for Marcus Smart.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I feel like that's an over. I feel like that he can hit that in this game, especially how important this game is. He's probably going to play heavy minutes if he's ready to go.
What do you think about Mitch's Jalen Brown under 24 and a half? I personally think if you, and this isn't going against Mitch, but if you like the over, uh, I would think you either don't bet this under or you take him over because I gotta think he's gonna have a good game because Tatum's coming off the 31 point effort,
Hmm.
and both Tatum and Butler have not been able to put back to back games together of even 25 or more points. But I could be wrong.
24 and a half. That's probably, that's funny because I'm seeing last night that Butler, sorry, Jalen Brown. Okay, yeah, 24 and a half. Sorry, I was looking at Tatum's numbers. Yeah, 24 and a half. It looks like to me, I feel like it would be an under. He's 6-2 to the under on this number in the last 8 games. I think it really has to be because, obviously we're seeing a slower pace game, two defensive teams. I think he's seeing probably Jimmy Butler as well on the defensive side of the ball. I know Tatum this one is always tough, especially with Boston, because Tatum and Brown are two guys that can go off at any moment. But if we do see Marcus Smart come in to play here, that's going to affect both Tatum and Jalen Brown's points, in my opinion, especially if he plays heavy minutes. So I, I would probably look towards the under on Brown. Um, but I mean, that's not something I would probably put my money on. But that would probably be the way that I look. I do like Marcus Smart though on his overs, and probably Lowry towards his unders, especially if Marcus Smart plays.
Yeah, I agree. I think of all the names we mentioned, I think the Lowry one is the under. I think is the one I prefer, and I think that was what points and assists at 15 and a half
Mhm.
that I had mentioned earlier. Um, do you think we have any best bets? It sounds like our player props are actually our best bet, and you like you're leaning the over in this game.
Yeah, I'm
And
leaning towards the over here. I don't want to say it's my best bet because I haven't put my own money on it yet. But right now, that's the way that I'm leaning, and also if I want to also know have a better understanding of who's actually going to be playing today. So I probably won't have a solid bet on a side either until probably this afternoon.
And I can't. I'm struggling with Boston and Miami here because of all those angles I read off and the number two
Yeah.
seeds. 39-22 against the spread for 64%. The last 10 playoff seasons as a road favorite are the number two seeds. And the fact that 18 of the last 40 representatives in the NBA finals have been the number two seed. And the fact that Miami's a one seed has my head very clouded right now. And I'll
Yeah,
have to go
one
back.
thing one thing that you brought up last show was Boston was down 2-1 on this, or 1-2, sorry, 2. Yeah, Boston was down 2-1 on the series, and the series line was 110 both ways. And we
Yeah.
talked about how that was telling a story. And I think that will continue to tell us a story, really, to be honest. So obviously the line here is also telling us a story, right? Having a road favorite.
Yep.
The way that I would look would be the Celtics. That's the only way that I could look here. But to be but just for confirmation, I would love to have Smart and Williams on the court. I think those two guys are too big of a difference makers in this game.
And I definitely agree with that. If they don't play, then I have to lean with the number one seed Heat to get it done somehow, some way. Lastly, what do you think of Butler over 24 and a half? Uh, that I mean, that's just that's we think that's just points, right? Yeah,
24 and a half is points for Butler. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
I
tough.
think it is tough because you would think that he would be more of a distributor than scorer in this game five, but wow, I pass on the Butler situation on that one. Sorry, Ninja, but if you want to bet
Yeah,
it and you like it, then don't let us hold you back.
yeah. I mean, he has done he hit both times at home. He hit let's look at this real quick. One, two. Yeah, he hit two for game one and game two. He went 41 and 29 in points, and then on the road 8 and 6. Obviously, game three he got injured. Game four it was a blowout. So I don't know. I guess it depends on how close you think this game is going to be. Obviously, there's a little bit of correlation here with the home court and a road. So if you see him at home and you think that he performs well at home, it's probably the over. But I probably wouldn't touch it in this spot here. But I mean, yeah, that one's pretty close to call.
One final thought I have, Ronald. I don't think this game's going to start out 16-1, like we saw in the
No,
previous game. So, and I'm doing this on the fly, but it almost makes sense like a pizza money bet, maybe no more than a 1 unit amount. Our normal bet size is four, and then we got that idiot back again. Uh, I'm sure SoCal will report every single one of them, so we'll get rid of them. Um, it makes sense to me that they come flying out of the gate, and if they do, you might be able to get that upper end of that total at 213 and a half. I said, and then look to play a 15-point middle and see if the game doesn't slow down a little bit after a big start in the second quarter, which is normally the trend in these games. It doesn't always happen, but you
yeah,
might be able to get the betting line at 203 and a half and bet
yeah,
over. And then you have a basically, what is that? That's at least a 12-point over under middle. And you're just
yeah.
playing with pizza money bet. I think the game comes in somewhere between 204 and the mid teens for the total. So that's my take on that. So anyway, we appreciate everybody in the chat room, and that's about it for today, Ronald. We'll be back again tomorrow with another edition of the NBA Triple Double. Make sure you get over to sportsmemo.com and get our picks. Ronald and I put out WNBA picks, Major League Baseball picks, NHL hockey. I'm running hot in. So make sure you get over there and take advantage of that and any other specials they're running. So until then, remember two things: bet with your head and not over it, and may all the wins be yours.